My name's Adam Wingard. I'm the director of this movie.
Hey, I'm Tom Hammock. I'm the production designer.
And behind us is our big final set piece house set, and it doesn't look like much from out here, but we'll take you inside, and this is where all the fun, scary stuff happens. So come on with us. So. Okay, so this is where the characters enter into the house right here, and technically this wasn't in the original film, but we wanted to kind of match the aesthetic of it. And the funny thing about the original movie is that there's actually no doors on any of the walls. So Tom's fun job on this picture was trying to kind of make it aesthetically kind of matching with the original film while doing kind of our own thing. And so when you first start in here, you know, we wanted this room to actually give you, I mean, because ultimately this is kind of like our big haunted house set piece of the film, and we wanted the end of the movie to feel appropriately kind of like a haunted house ride, you know. You'll see these doors kind of are almost like, you know, you can't really be acclimated of where you are. Everything kind of looks the same, and we wanted to purposely constantly kind of confuse the audience so that we can kind of shift things around, and the house kind of subtly changes as it goes and things like that. This right here is the entrance to the iconic set piece from the original film, where, you know, the basement set, you know. And so right here, this actually is, you know, just our kind of turning point here. You know, we matched these like runes that the filmmakers had created, you know, pretty much exact. And you know, right here, this just goes into a black wall, but it connects to another piece of the set that actually goes into the basement. You know, one of the main things that we tried to do was, you know, find interesting looking kind of degraded buildings and stuff and kind of match that kind of thing to this.
Totally. Here, shall we go into the hallway?
Sure, yeah.
Talk about it.
So this is kind of my favorite part, actually. This hallway is pretty sweet.
So we originally started looking at a lot of abandoned Russian buildings in Chernobyl from the nuclear disaster, where they'd just been allowed to sit through the winters for 20 years, and that's where we came up with a lot of the textures. The house, the original house, actually has incredibly high ceilings, and you can see how really just very, very high they are in here, which is kind of nuts. And how we built this set is actually 3 stories tall. So we had to build it in stages, unlike a normal movie set. So it's structure, and then each piece had to be added. And you can see that we built it like traditional old building techniques with lath and plaster. And what that allowed is any place Adam wanted a hole, we just come through here with axes and sledgehammers. You can look around and just like slam through the set. So you can see there's a whole nother room back here.
Yeah, even though some of these rooms don't get used, it was really important that we create texture, you know, by being able to look through, you know, like if the characters look through holes in the walls, that there's actually stuff back there, just to give the feeling of like depth and things like that. This is a really cool room. This is what we call the Emerald Room. We actually do like one of our homages to the original film, where in this one Peter is standing against the wall over here. This was one where we got to have a little bit of departure, because this is obviously not a room that you see in the original movie. So we kind of wanted to take opportunities to like stash in some old furniture, and fortunately there was a TV show shooting nearby here that was set in the 1800s, so we were able to kind of get a lot of their stuff for a pretty decent price.
Totally. And behind you, we actually recreated the fireplace from the original film, so that even when we've created our own rooms, there are always elements that match the original, so the audience feels at home and like they're in the same space.
And, you know, this is obviously just some more texture, you know, like, you know, in the movie itself, you know, characters will just kind of glimpse into these little things, but, you know, there's just those kind of details that kind of make the whole thing.
I think you actually made that hole there with the axe. Is that the one you made?
Yeah.
Heather! Heather!
So this is, we're coming up to, this is pretty much the first time that you're seeing stuff that we've just like directly recreated from the original. And so the thing that obviously, like, that you remember the most is like the stairs, going up the stairs, down the stairs into the basement and things like that. So we wanted to recreate this exact, and I think these holes are all exact, aren't they?
Yeah, the holes, all the chipping, the weird plaster just piled up on the staircase.
Yeah. So all this is an exact match to the original. As a just because, like where we can, we wanted to try to, be as, absolutely specific as possible.
Careful of no hand railing, guys. The original has no hand railing, so we've just been waiting for someone to fall off.
Yeah, exactly.
Was the original a set?
No, it wasn't. I think the original was just actually a house that the filmmakers found out in the middle of nowhere. It was in Maryland, right?
Yeah.
And, so they just kind of stumbled upon that, and then we spent, months trying to recreate some house that was just, out in the middle of nowhere, falling apart,
Yeah.
But, that's how it goes.
All right. Here we go to our second floor, our hallway.
And the second floor, we actually are doubling it as 2 floors. So after we shoot out this floor, we're going to make it feel like once you get down to the end of the hallway that you actually go up into a 3rd floor. And the 3rd floor will actually just be this hallway redressed. So
Redressed, repainted, rain coming down, bits of the ceiling hanging off.
exactly, because we wanted each floor and each room and aspect of the house to have a different personality. I mean, you'll see even the way the floors are dressed in this one, there's suddenly just like less leaves. It's like a different kind of approach to the aesthetic. And like Tom said, once we get to the 3rd floor, then we're going to play with the rain outside and actually having it come into the set itself. But we'll be doing that last, and hopefully that won't be a complete nightmare. This is another room that plays prominently as like a set piece in the film, and again, this is one that isn't in the original movie, so we're seeing new stuff here, and it was just another opportunity to kind of be like, well, let's play with kind of putting some like old bed furniture and things like that to kind of expand the world. And interesting thing about this wallpaper and stuff is it looks very just like completely destroyed in this kind of very randomized manner, but we had to recreate this room twice because it joins into 2 different parts of the set. So this is all recreated on a different part of the soundstage exact, and I'm glad that I wasn't involved in doing that.
Yeah, that way we'll be able to play a visual trick on the audience where they come into this room from the 3rd floor, and then when we exit the room the second time, you'll exit into a completely different set.
Exactly.
So, all right.
All right, so let's see.
All right. It's pretty tight in there, so you take it from here, Adam, to the attic?
Yeah, so this is more or less just like a connection set piece, but it plays prominently. This is, the opening scene shot. We specifically built this so that when you're running up, it's a little nook over here so that you can't see anybody, but this reflection will cleverly catch her. And we kind of started filming that last night and kind of had to move on to other things based on actor timing. So we need to jump back into this, I think, tonight and finish it off. And this door over here, which will eventually lead to the attic, right now leads to a dangerous fall going nowhere. Which I think is just blacked out right now. Yep. So there you go. That's what would actually happen if you went through this door. I think the best part about doing a walkthrough with this thing is, actually showing people that you really built these sets and that we didn't just find some crumbling house out in the middle of nowhere.
I know. It's pretty neat to be able to build something on this scale for real. Careful of your heads, guys.
This is our biggest set to date, actually. Because prior to this, Tom and I had built some pretty like small but elaborate sets for like a TV show, and we've always, for the most part, we've been shooting in a lot of practical locations. So this has been a lot of fun to be able to do something, just bigger. And I think we've always wanted to do something that's very texturized as well. I think Tom and I are both really big fans of like David Fincher movies and that kind of stuff. So to be able to do stuff where we just have like really disgusting looking walls with a lot of textures. You know, something I think we've been looking forward to doing for a while.
It's pretty cool.
Which way's the entrance? It's
Right side.
right side.
So, yeah, so we're headed over to the attic set, and we're going to join it at the same little piece that we just exited from way up top up there.
Let's go on in here, yeah.
We'll close it after you.
So this room is the one I was talking about earlier about the randomized kind of wallpaper that we're matching. You know, it had the bed in it and everything else. Eventually whenever we move into this set, we shoot out that other version, basically, we'll come in here, bring the furniture like that bed and the dresser and stuff, and then this will feel exactly like the same room. And in the movie itself, the room kind of supernaturally transports James into, you know, from the hallway into the attic, which is right here, right now. And there'll actually be, you know, like a door here and stuff. Lisa. The opening scene of the film, he actually pops out of this thing and scares her, and we see that later on again at the end. And so right here, this is where our big finale takes place here in the attic. You know, this door right now, the panels are missing because eventually we're going to be putting in special panels to explode outwards and crack and stuff as though the something's behind it pushing. You know, this set just in general was, you know, kind of us, you know, wanting to kind of expand on the, the whole ending of the first film where you know, it ends in the big iconic basement set piece. And, you know, we kind of had fun with that, with the characters kind of slightly implanting the idea that some people don't know if, you know, the legend was that Rustin Parr, you know, put kids in the corner in the basement or the attic. And so our film actually takes you to both, you know, and ultimately, you know, because we're, you know, the ladder in the series, we don't go any further down, we go further up here. So we end here in the attic.
Hey, so if you look closely at the facade of the house, it's being crushed by trees on both sides, and we carried that through to this attic set where we had, you know, this big piece of a tree that's come through and actually crushed the set. And when we film this, there will be rain just like pouring through that opening and from other spots all over this attic.
Yeah, and this kind of plays as, you know, it helps disguise the entity that's moving through the room behind them. You know, like, because the final set piece here is the characters in this corner. You know, we play with the mythology that, you know, you're made to stand in the corner, and if you turn around, you're going to see the witch and you'll die, you know, basically a fright. Just like the little kids were meant to do by the serial killer Rustin Parr back in the 40s. Shall we move on to the basement set?
The basement it is.
Where am I? I'm all turned around. Oh, this way.
Back the way we came. All right, Adam?
Yeah, so this is, we showed you earlier in the front room where the entrance to the basement is. This is the join for that. Again, you see the hieroglyphics on the wall. And this is to me, the most memorable aspect of the original house, which is the big staircase leading into the basement, which is the final moments in the movie. And one thing that always made an impression was this big overhang right here, which is very difficult for cameras, but it makes a big impression in the first film as they're coming down the stairs and they see it. And so this is our biggest, most like iconic match that we did. You know, in the original film, you see this water heater, this pillar. Everything's done here to exactly as to scale and everything. Tom, you want to talk a little bit about the way you did all that?
Sure. We actually took the still and traced every single rock and then projected it from a projector on a ladder way back there. And then this was all foam, which was carved rock by rock to match the original.
Yeah, so if you watch the original and look and put this exactly to it, this will all match up exactly, including these beams on the ceiling, and you know, which I don't know how much of that you can see in the original, but Tom actually found a bunch of photos of people who, after the film came out, went and found the original house out there before it got tore down, and they would take photos of themselves. So that actually ended up being a great resource for us.
Exactly.
You know?
So the fans were fantastic for us for recreating the set, and you can see that they're actually just real trees that we've shaped with chainsaws into these beams.
Yeah, and Eduardo and Greg too. Eduardo, who co-directed the film, and Greg, who helped produce it. They supplied us with photos and things like that for the match. And then, so the last thing to show you really is this right here. This is the entrance to the tunnel set piece where Callie has to crawl through the tiny little tunnel. And you know, a stunt person will actually fall through here. And the thing about this is that once you're down here in this tunnel, the only way out is to actually crawl through. So when you're watching the film and you feel claustrophobic and think like, oh, well, the actors are safe, that may not be entirely true, because they actually have to go through that experience. So, and that's kind of the idea is, you know, we want something that that's a real, you know, a real horror show experience. And, you know, here we are, and this is it. And, you know, it's been a pleasure walking you through.
Thanks, guys.